Hi, this is Doug Whedon at thewalledgarden.net. Well, let's continue talking about our needs and how we use our finances to supply those, to attempt to fulfill ourselves through those needs. You remember we were talking about that we all kind of share the big four, the idea that we need pleasure, we need a sense of purpose, we need a sense of personal value, and that we need a sense of security and safety in our lives. And because of that, because our lives these needs are infinite and we only have finite resources around us, we become insatiable. We have this bottomless pit where we're trying to use our relationships to fulfill ourselves. We're trying to use resources to fulfill ourselves, and we become what we call consumers with no option out of that. There's a lot of people that believe that if we just become educated and concentrate on the point, or we become more caring about the environment, we won't, we'll quit being consumers. Well, that's not true. There's only one thing that will break us off from being consumers, and that's repentance. And even then, it takes some time, for us to come around. So the point is that these needs are driving us, and according to our old nature, we're just going to be consuming things. And one of the tools that we use the most is the idea of money. I think you can see fairly easily that, let's just take one of those needs, the idea of safety and security. Let's say that we want to feel a little bit more secure. Well, what's the typical thing that we say? Well, if I just had more money, if I put some more money aside for retirement, or away for, put it away for a rainy day. Point is, there's never enough. And we're back to the bottomless pit. We're just constantly trying, since we know there's never enough, we're just constantly trying to increase it and increase it and increase it. And we don't feel safe no matter what, because anything can still topple our lives. We want to create, some kind of insulation around us, but as we continue to try to do that, and we realize anything can penetrate this insulation I'm trying to create, with a bigger bank account, or with a better investment portfolio, or whatever the case may be. We're still vulnerable, and we recognize that because we just can't find that fulfillment. Well, money is also used in trying to have a sense of purpose. If we say, boy, I'd really like to do something valuable with my life, but I know that's going to take effort and time away from me generating money. And so I really need to score, when I'm working for money, I need to score more so that I'll have excess to cover something I can do that will make a difference in this world, Because at the moment, all the time that I'm trying to create a safe system. So we use money to try to cover both of those. We also need extra money to create a world of pleasure for ourselves. We want to feel good. We want to go out and, who knows, whatever, kind of pleasurable situations we're looking for, whether it's going out for dinner or buying a condo in the Caribbean or whatever, the Mediterranean, whatever the case may be, south of France. We need money to create that pleasure. And money is also useful, for the idea of personal value. The more I can pile up, the more successful I can become, the better I feel about myself. And so this idea is that money is often used to try to attempt to fulfill our needs. And it's just a common experience, very common experience. And so, as we said in an earlier episode, we need to take our time If we want money, we take our time and downtrade it for money. And people can spend their whole lives in the pursuit of money to fulfill these needs and never get there. And it creates a bitterness of soul in one's old age along those lines. Well, money's a typical tool to be used, but also careers are a typical tool to be used, because I think you can see how what I do for a living can have an effect on my security, how much I'm making, how much, if I get a better job, I can be putting more and more money away, or how it can affect your personal value and impress yourself that I'm doing this for a living. And even if no one else is impressed, I can be impressed, but it's nice if I can get everybody else impressed about what I'm doing with my life. Or my life can be something that is valuable in the sense of purpose, and feel like that I'm really doing something important with my life, or even pleasurable, that I enjoy the environment that I'm working in. So you see, we can use money and we can use career, and we can join those two things together as a tool to be thrown in that bottomless pit, and that's a typically cultural approach to trying to fulfill ourselves. From day one, a child gets into the system, and the parents are trying to encourage them to get their better education, to get good marks on their, report cards and such, because each one of these things adds to the potential of being able to get a better and better job, to put you in a better position, you see. And then once you get that job, you wrestle and, shift around and play your cards right to get seniority, to get tenure, to pad yourself from being laid off and make yourself indispensable, so to speak, to, the system in which you work. And so there's this wrestling match, this competition that continues to go on for the top rung, and you just keep climbing, you see, in using these things and trying to fulfill ourselves. This is part of the world system. This is part of our habit. This is the kind of life we were born into in our exile from God. And after decades of investing in this kind of perspective, it is just normal to become discouraged because you're not making any headway. And probably one of the best ways to cope with that discouragement is to distract yourself by trying to make more money and developing your career. Eventually, you run out of energy, and you realize that you're not getting anywhere. I don't mean to paint a bad picture here of the kind of life that we're faced with, but this is the norm. This is what our old nature continues to encourage us to do. And as we come to repentance, and as we move into a place of handling our money well, it's how we look at our money after repentance is very different than how we looked at our money before repentance. Because is money the root of all evil? No. The love of money is the root of all evil. And how we approach money is very different in the way that we carry on our stewardship as we follow Christ than what it was when we were on our own. And we'll talk about that more later. Well, I encourage you, step out of the world system, come up for air, and take a breath.